Simon, how are you?
Good, mate. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So, there's a lot of trends in healthcare right now,
Yeah.
right? Across the entire continuum of care. But when you think about the healthcare environment as it stands today, there's just a lot of M&A activity, right?
Absolutely.
Creating, more disparate technology in our customers' environments today. Obviously, that creates other unique challenges because they need to be able to drive more efficiency with less resources, right?
Absolutely.
Which means technology needs to come along with that. But when you think about the disparity in technology, you think about the need for a single pane of glass and a security operations center. Can you just talk to us about SureView and how leveraging a PSIM can really help, maybe as an overall strategy, but at a minimum a bridge strategy while customers are working on that technology roadmap, as we know may take a decade, right?
Sure.
Just because of funding and resources.
So, we've been in this business for a long time, and one of the key things is, there's always change. There's always change. You talked about mergers and acquisitions. Like security has got to be the last thing that they think about when they do the merger. Are they using AMAG, or are they using Secure, or are they using Lenel, right? And so we've always been a technology that tries to create a single pane of glass so that response times, which is the thing that if you have a response time that gets longer and longer, the outcomes are going to get worse and worse over time. So if you can make the people on the front line, security operations in a SOC or a GSOC, be able to respond quicker because they've got a single pane of glass that removes the differences that you get from one access system to a different video system to a gunshot detection system to a business risk system, all these different responsibilities these guys have today in the command center is giving them one interface to be able to respond to that quickly in a crisis. It makes those response times come down, and so the outcomes are obviously going to be better in those circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And the audience knows this, right? It's not just cameras and card readers and alarms anymore, right?
No,
There's so many more technologies to really help them be more predictive and proactive in how our customers manage security today. And having a single pane of glass that kind of brings all these technologies together, I think is really important. One of the things I think our audience is probably thinking about, and everybody's talking about, right, is AI.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and that AI is evolving very rapidly, right? As you know.
Yeah.
A lot of efficiencies come with it. Certainly, there are some risks that come with it as well.
Yep.
Can you talk to the audience a little bit about how SureView is leveraging AI to drive more efficiency in the healthcare environment?
Yeah, so one of the challenges that I think everybody kind of knows about the security command center is that there's often a lot of turnover, unfortunately.
Yep.
It's a tough environment to work in, late nights, it's a dark room, it's sometimes even somewhat repetitive. So what we've tried to do is, where can we utilize AI to make these people's jobs more efficient, have tools to be able to do that? And what's happened in the last 12 months is AI, as you said, has just rapidly, the functionality and the capabilities has rapidly increased. So what we've done is we're just in the process of releasing what we call our virtual operator. It's in beta right now. And what we're trying to do is take some of those tasks that operators have got to follow when they're doing an event that are sometimes quite manual, and let AI do a first pass, do a triage of that information with the aim of making those response times quicker, but identifying things much quicker for operators so that they can make the right decisions quickly. So a virtual operator can come in, it can look at video, it can follow action plans, it can look at where a location happened. There's even technology coming out now where it could even do the back and forth chatting with someone in an intercom environment. So there's just huge amounts of scope to allow a virtual assistant, a virtual operator to do many of those tasks that overwhelm, security operation centers. The one thing we really tried to solve was, if it's just you and I, for instance, in the SOC today, and we suddenly get a flood of alarms that come in, the only thing that can get worse is our response time, because there's only you and I, we can't pass it on to others. But if I've got a virtual operator that could be going through and going, well, of these 20 alarms that just came through, 3 of them you two need to work on. The other ones are relatively meaningless, and we can handle that at the AI level. We don't necessarily need it, or we can down prioritize them when you guys can get to it when you've dealt with those couple of 3 or 4 critical items. So that's where we've tried to use AI to help the operator. There's a whole wealth of other areas that we can use AI in, like trend analysis, where are alarms coming at different times of day, where should we put our assets, have we got problem locations that we should have the team focus on. But fundamentally at that front side, if we can make AI help our operators be more efficient and security management have a more efficient operation overall to keep costs down, that's what we're trying to deliver.
When we think about technology investment, right? It's not just, hey, it's a great idea, I think this will work well for me. It's
right.
How do I get the funding for this?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because in a healthcare environment, everybody's vying for the same capital dollars, right?
Yep.
And obviously in the hospital environment, very reimbursement driven model.
Yep.
We know that there's obvious ROI on some of the clinical technologies, but in today's world, I think you probably would agree that security is probably as important as anything
sure.
else, given the world we live in today,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially with all the workplace
Especially in
violence.
healthcare.
Right.
Yeah.
What's been kind of a couple of the aha moments for you, or maybe just pick one where, kind of the light bulb went off for a customer, maybe the financial buyer as well, to say, wow, this is really worth the investment, and this is how it's going to help me drive efficiency. Because the one thing, it was interesting when you were talking about me and you kind of in there, that's real world stuff, right? Because there's just not unlimited resources and personnel to be able to manage these environments. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that, and maybe just real life experience of what you've seen.
I think the most real life experiences is we've had customers that had multiple, what they called security command rooms, not a huge SOC, it was maybe 1 or 2 guys, and maybe it wasn't all day long, it was like certain times of the day.
And they had just a monitoring center,
right? Just a small monitoring center, and they had multiple buildings across maybe a campus or dispersed, and it was costly. They had all these people in all these different locations,
out there, right?
And what they've done is they've consolidated it, and it's not always the model for everyone, but I've seen customers consolidate and close down 2, 3, 4, 5 different command centers into one, and have the same level of staff that they had in the one originally. So maybe 3 or 4 guys can handle what 10 or 15 people were doing before. A, because they're doing it more efficiently, because we've got a program that we can, control. But 2, you've just eliminated all of these hubs like that you've had. Now, you can't always get rid of the last person necessarily, and it's maybe also using your guard staff.
You can reallocate them.
You can reallocate them, or you can use your guard staff that's already there, that has to be there, that you want to use them more as part of an overall comprehensive approach, right? So I've seen customers find huge ROI in the ability to consolidate, centralize, maybe it's 2 regions, 1 region, a couple of regions, by doing things like that, and real aha moments.
Awesome, thank you. So, just if you could, right? We're Convergint. We are, fortunate, I think, to get to work up close and personal with some of the best technology companies in the world, and some of the best customers in the world, especially given our market position in global security integration. If you could close us out, just what makes SureView unique? Why are you different than anybody else? Why should you be considered for PSIM technology specifically for the Security Operations Center?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons for us. I mean, we've been doing it for a very long time, so we've seen lots of different verticals, from healthcare to technology to infrastructure. So we've seen lots of different types of environments, and these customers, like Convergint's customers, some of them are large national players, some of them are global, so we've had to deal with the scale that comes with that. And then having those experiences with customers on the front line, like I said, working closely with them, understanding, the cost pressures that they're under, the regulatory environments that they work in. So I think we're able to bring a lot of that to the table. And I think the last point is that we've really tried as a company to be on the front foot of technology, trying to be open. So openness is a big part of what we do. And that, what it means to us is open to integrate to other multitude of different things, because that's the environment that everybody's working in today. But also open to be able to exchange data with all their back-end systems that they rely on for communication and ticketing, and making sure that our technology gives people the options to integrate with all the different systems that they use.
Well, I want to thank you for your time
Thank
today.
you for
I think
having
we're
us.
up on time, and I would also say there's probably, I know we talked about healthcare today
Yep.
and PSIMS. Obviously, it also in other vertical markets and
Yeah.
and probably like Convergent, right? You can leverage those best practices and some of the things you're seeing cross industry,
100%.
right? To advance the technology and work even closer with the customer
100%.
to help advance them, right? So appreciate the
Appreciate
time
it. Thank you.
today. Thanks, man.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Take care.